Ever catch yourself thinking some of these big grown-up financial decisions should really come with like a big old warning label?
Totally.
Today, we're diving into one of those tricky dilemmas that can seem deceptively simple on the surface,
Yeah.
but can have huge ripple effects down the line.
We're talking mortgages versus pensions.
Ah, yes. It's a classic. And
That's interesting, right?
it is.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly told, get rid of that mortgage as soon as possible. Crush that debt.
Right. Like, it's public enemy number one. Get rid of it at all costs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And look, I get it. I get it. There's a certain peace of mind that comes with being mortgage-free.
Right.
But the reality is, it's not always the clear-cut financial win you might think.
Yeah. To kick things off, I've got a bit of a story. A friend of mine, let's just call him Mark.
Sure.
He's in his early 40s, doing well for himself, and he decides, you know what? I want to be mortgage-free ASAP. So he decides to double down on his mortgage payments with the goal of being completely debt-free by 52. Ambitious, right? Absolutely. I mean, that takes dedication. And you know, this whole scenario with Mark really highlights something that often gets overlooked.
Okay.
He decided to make a £1,000 monthly overpayment on his mortgage.
Okay. Yeah, that's a serious chunk of change.
Right.
So I could totally see why someone would think, that's it. That's the winning strategy. Wipe it out fast.
Sure. But here's where things get interesting. Pensions.
Okay.
What if instead of putting that extra grand towards his mortgage every month, he'd put it into his pension?
So walk me through this. How could that possibly be a better move when you're talking about that amount of money every month going toward your mortgage?
Right. So you have to think about how pensions work. You've got your tax breaks, which are huge.
Yeah.
You have the potential for employer contributions, free money, essentially.
What?
And then there's the magic of compound interest over time, right?
See, compound interest, that's where I start to glaze over a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it feels a bit like financial, like wizardry.
It's amazing, though. It's your money, and then those earnings earning more money, and it just keeps building on itself. With a pension, your money's invested and has the potential to grow exponentially over the long term.
Okay.
So by maximizing his pension contributions, Mark could have potentially saved himself, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Over £500 per month compared to his mortgage overpayment plan.
Wait, he could have been over £500 a month better off by putting that money in his pension. Are you serious?
That's the thing. We're talking about a potential difference of £216,000 in his pension over those 12 years.
Wow.
Now imagine this. He could have potentially used that money to pay off whatever was left on his mortgage the day he retired.
Oh, wow.
And it would have had all those years to grow through investment.
Okay.
In a way, by focusing solely on the mortgage, he might have missed out on a significant amount of long-term growth, potentially ending up £40,000 worse off.
That's kind of mind-blowing, to be honest.
It is. It is.
And I'm sure, there's people listening right now thinking, but debt is debt. I want that mortgage gone. I can imagine there's a real sense of like, I don't want that hanging over my head.
Absolutely. And, for some people, that peace of mind, that feeling of security, it really outweighs any potential financial gains they might get from prioritizing their pension. But it's important to realize that it's a trade-off.
Totally, yeah.
And it's important to understand what you're giving up. And there's one more thing, right?
Okay.
You got to factor in the unexpected.
Life throws curveballs.
It does.
All the time.
Yeah.
Let's say Mark hits 50, something happens, unexpected job loss.
Happens.
Throws a wrench in everything.
Right.
If he's put everything into paying off that mortgage, he's got less equity available and limited access to his pension until he actually retires.
Yeah.
And that can be a really, really challenging situation.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. If he'd gone the pension route, he's got that safety net.
Exactly.
To fall back on. He's got options. He's got flexibility.
Right.
And it gives him more breathing room if something like that happens. Look, this isn't to say that paying off your mortgage is always the wrong choice.
Right.
There are valid reasons why someone might prioritize that. Maybe they just value that feeling of being debt-free.
Sure, absolutely.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's about making informed choices.
Right. So what's the takeaway here for our listeners? What's the right move? Mortgage or pension?
I wish there was a one-size-fits-all answer. I really do.
Right.
But it all boils down to your personal circumstances, how much risk you're comfortable with, what your long-term goals are.
Right.
But here's the thing. By understanding how these different financial tools work,
yes,
you can at least make informed decisions that align with your unique situation.
It's so true. And this has definitely given me a lot to think about just in terms of, it's not just about the numbers, it's about your own personal priorities.
Absolutely.
And making sure the choices you make financially actually support the kind of life you want, both now and in the future.
And, maybe this whole conversation, it gets us thinking a little bit differently about how much emphasis we put on certain financial milestones.
Oh, interesting.
Is being completely debt-free at all costs always the best strategy? Or are there times when it might make sense to prioritize other goals, like investing in your pension?
Interesting. Lots to chew on today.
Lots to think about.
As always,